Morning all. Alright, so news of the day video for all you fine people on the internet for your Thursday, September the 21st. We're getting closer to October and it's officially feeling like autumn. At least here. And I know it's not that way everywhere, but here it's been feeling like autumn for a week or so now. So with training camps opening up, that means that players have to take physicals, and not every player is going to pass that physical. And starting at the top of the board with one that didn't is Calgary's Oliver Shillington. But the way it's being put is that he's not attending the start of camp. I haven't heard that he's going to be out that long necessarily, so hopefully it's nothing too bad for Shillington, because he hasn't played in a while and he needs to get up to speed. And the sooner he's out practicing with his teammates, the sooner that takes place, right? So all the best to Shillington and his recovery. So Patrick Kane rumors are out there, and I avoid all rumor sites because usually the rumors don't necessarily come through, but of course one persistent one has been Patrick Kane to the Sabres. And it has been confirmed by Drager. I think LeBrun confirmed it as well, that the Sabres have been in on Kane. They are not the only team that is in on Patrick Kane, but they're going to have to wait. Kane needs another month of rehab. So he's been rehabbing in Toronto. He needs another month. He has said he will not sign until he feels healthy. He is not signing a contract until that rehabilitation's done. So that, I don't know if that's going to change any of Buffalo's plans. I've seen all the rumors about Zegras too. We'll talk about Zegras, but I don't see it. I don't see Buffalo needing another young forward. But they will be without Matthew Lavoie. He's week to week. He could return though before the end of camp. He's dealing with a shoulder injury. So for Lavoie, good young player. Could get himself a roster spot with Quinn being out for a while to start the season. So we'll see what happens there. But again, I don't see why they'd go for Zegras. I mean, is it possible? Sure. Is it likely? Anytime I see it in all the rumors everywhere, I'm like, but really, Anyways, that's my reaction right there. You're welcome for that visual. All right, so getting to Colorado news. You knew Colorado was going to have injured players. It wouldn't be the start of the season if we weren't talking about injuries in Colorado. And it starts with Cale Makar. So that's a kick to the... Anyways, he's going to miss the start of camp, but he could return next week. So I haven't seen what exactly it is that he's dealing with, but he could return next week, which would be great because they're going to need him. And then in other injury news, Chris Wagner suffered a ruptured Achilles before camp, so that sounds very painful, and I'm guessing that's going to keep him out for quite a while. Andrew Cogliano is expected to be a full participant throughout camp. There's some speculation he won't be playing preseason games, though. So for Colorado, again, welcome back. We're going to be talking about injuries because that's what happens with the Avs. I'm kind of disappointed we don't have Pittsburgh on the board, too, because it kind of feels like Pittsburgh's always dealing with that kind of thing, too. But hey, it's still a young training camp. And Chris Weidman is out for Montreal. Montreal, a team that dealt with a lot of injuries last year. He's not on the ice today due to a back injury, and since I put that on the board, it's come out that he's out indefinitely with a back injury. So all the best to Weidman there. It's a crowded blue line in Montreal. I mean, in some ways that simplifies things a little bit for Marty St. Louis and for Kent Hughes. Because, again, they have a very crowded blue line. A lot of good young defensemen there. So we'll see what they do. And if they, with Dvorak going on LTIR and Price going on LTIR, they could be a very interesting team to watch. There are some teams looking to shed some cap. Montreal might be able to pick some up. We'll see how that goes for them. So it's out there. The rumors out there that the Anaheim Ducks are lowballing Trevor Zegras in negotiations, and that they're offering him a bridge deal of $3 to $4 million a year. Now, I will say this: with contracts, if you're paying for what a player has done, $4 million a year is probably pretty good for Zegras. The debate with Trevor Zegras is a simple one: what is his ceiling? And so for some, they feel like he is just flashy. There's nothing really there. His defensive numbers this past season did have a bit of a tumble. I think part of that is teams adjusting to his game. I think that's part of it. I think it's the teams defended against him a lot better. His points totals were still good, and he's 22 years of age. So I do think that there is a lot of upside there. I think he's a great forward. That being said, If you're not going to pay for that potential and you want to pay for what somebody did, what they've already done, if that is Pat Verbeek's stance on this, that's going to be a little bit tougher because again, we're seeing a lot of contracts for guys are getting paid for what they will do. Again, the Jake Sanderson contract. Lots of debate about that contract since it was signed, right? But we've seen instances where, like the Stützle contract, when it was signed, there was a lot of, well, he hasn't done enough yet. I remember Kaprizov after that great rookie year. He gets that big contract extension, and there was debate about, well, is he worth it after 1 year? And so that debate will continue. But for Zegras, Anaheim needs to get him in camp. I do think there's a player there who could score in the 90-point range. I'm not saying he does this year, but I think 90-point range is possible, and I do think that the rest of his numbers should get better this year. But he's got to play. And so for Zegras, you're in a bit of a rough position. He has absolutely no leverage here. And so his choice is probably going to be to either accept the offer from the Ducks or sit out. Unless Anaheim does work out a trade. So sit down with the Buffalo Rumors. Just sit down. Anyways, we'll see what happens with Zegras, but I'd be interested to know your thoughts on that. Because again, I know there's that divide. People who think he's all flash, no substance, and then those who think that there's a lot more to him than that. I'm on the I think there's a lot more to him than that side of things. And I think it's easier to shut down Zegras when his teammates aren't, necessarily up to par when it comes to the offensive game. So, if you shut down Zegras and you shut down Terry, you shut down the Ducks. So we'll see how things go there. I just hope they get this straightened out. They get him signed as soon as possible. And now that I've got that on the board, maybe it happens sooner rather than later. That does seem to be the rule, doesn't it? So the Australian games, tomorrow night I'll be staying up late watching the game in Australia. I will be taking notes. There will be a review video going up for that between the Coyotes and the LA Kings. The one thing is that the tickets have sold quite well. There's some excitement down there. What I've seen, and I saw this in the comments, that it's not marketed very well in Australia, and also it's competing with the Aussie Rules Football League playoffs this weekend. So, preliminaries, eh? Anyways, I looked that up, and I was like, okay, so these games aren't on at the exact same time as the NHL game, but again, if you're going to be going to that, if you're excited about that. So they're going to be competing for eyeballs with other sports. I always find this interesting, though. The NHL has done this with the global reach idea with the global series. And I just wonder how much upside we see from this. It'll be interesting to see if NHL merchandise sells better in Australia after this trip. And again, the end game here is one that I always question because I don't see the NHL ever moving beyond being a North American league. And so I do wonder, like I think it's great that they have these games around the globe. I just wonder, so do you go back to Australia in 5 years? Do you go back in 3? It doesn't make much sense to go down there unless you plan to go back and unless there's another plan in place. But we'll see how it goes and how the Coyotes and the Kings fare in those games down there. And it's going to be fun to watch hockey this week. Ottawa Senators fans, you guys can relax now. The sale is set to close today. Michael Andlauer and his partners should be introduced tomorrow. Bruce Garriock reporting that it's basically going to be done today. So we can finally take that running commentary on the channel of when's it going to sell? When's it finally going to happen? Apparently it's today. So it took a while. It took a long time. Apparently there's a lot of paperwork, a lot of complexity to this deal, but it's done. And then we can hear his plan for the team going forward, which I'm excited to hear. I want to hear that they're going to have a building that works, whether it's taking the arena they currently have and making that work to their benefit so they can make the most amount of money you can make in that market, or that they get a brand new building. So we'll see how things go. But let me know your thoughts in the comments section below as always. Don't forget to hit like and subscribe if you're browsing your way through. You just happened upon this video. Thank you guys so much for watching, for all your support. I will talk to you again soon.